Hey everybody, and 8-Bit Games here with a modded review. Today's mod is Psy. Now, if you don't know what Psy is, I'll have a link in the description to where I got it. It's basically a mod where you can create your own spells. Alright? Pretty sure it's based off an anime too. Now, anyways, when you spawn, you might have this depending if you're playing a mod pack or just a mod, because well, you get this if you also have an mod and stuff. I'm not naming it. Right. Now, to start off, you're going to want to make a CAD assemble. You're going to need 5 iron ingots and 1 piston. That's going to create this. Now, this CAD assemble is how you're going to make cats, and you're going to need your cats. Alright, then you're going to want to make an iron CAD assembly. It's 4 iron, like so. And then you're going to want to take some. Then you're going to want to take your CAD assembly, put it into it to get the CAD assistant device. Now, just like this, by dropping the by dropping this redstone and right-clicking with this, I can create side dust. This is very important. Another thing is, on the side, you'll notice how when I did that, my thing went down. This is your psi energy, okay? And the more you spend, the more it goes down. And if it reaches 0, you can't do spells anymore. At that point, it takes psi energy from your health, so it could possibly kill you. Right? Then you're going to want to take this psi dust, 5 iron, and make a spell program. This spell programmer is right here. It's basically what lets you program your spells, alright? We'll get back to this spell in a little bit, but essentially it works like this, okay? Right click, then like the left is to select things, and this is just where your mouse is. So you right click, it gives you all your things. Alright, we'll get into what these are later. Like your tricks and so forth. Alright, if I place like this and left click it, that means I've selected, and I can use backspace to delete it. Alright, this basically tells me that the spell I've made is not compliant with my CAD, meaning it's not something that would function ever. Alright, let me just get rid of these. And this, and let me just pull out this back. Alright, so once you got these, you're basically essentially gonna wanna also create a few of these, alright? Now, if you don't know, in the CAD assembly, you have your CAD, you have your core, you have basically your magazine, and so forth. Essentially, if I take a newly made CAD like so, okay, I put in here, see, this spot on the left is where you put your bullets, okay, see, I had no slots open, so this cannot hold a single spell, okay, I can then use this, right here, I can use this, but I can't use that actually, by getting an iron CAD assembly, and by creating a basic CAD core, which is basically 4 iron ingots and a side dust, and by getting a basic CAD socket, which one side, and 2 iron ingots, and just like putting it like here. So this, if I don't shift for a time, this is now different from this, because see, this has 0 on its bottom ones, this does not. You notice when I put here it has sockets. That means I can now put spells in this bad boy. Alright, so we don't need you anymore. Now, let's go on with the introduction. Alright, so, as you can see in the encyclopedia, if you have the mod that creates this, you'd go to basics, then you go to introduction. Now, I'm not going to read this to you, as I feel as though it is for what you should, but just know that you can pause the page and read this yourself. Alright, next one. Writing a spell. Alright, just pause the page if you want to read this. Our next one. Pause it if you want to read this, and pause this again if you want to read this. Pause this again if you want to read this. Pause this again if you want to read this. Pause this again if you want to read this. Pause this again if you want to read this. Essentially, I'm not going to teach you that. I am going to simplify it in a form that you'll understand. But essentially, what that is doing is just taught you how to make a spell. Okay, now this is the debug spell. Right? Essentially, what it's saying is if I right click and type in tricks are basically primary functions, like if you want something to explode, go back in time, or just ignite it on file. Yeah, they all did. Trick debug essentially tells it to write something in the chat, okay? And this, a selector, is basically its target. See, each thing gives an output and an input value. And this tells you it needs an output value of, as output value none because it's not complete. And it needs an input value of target and an input number of number. Alright, so, see, by left clicking it pops up this. This basically means I can hold this, or I can select what this is from. So number is basically, wherever I click this is where it's going to select the number, and wherever I click this is where it selects text. See, it is now compliant with our CAD. By pressing any number in here, I can add and backspace to get rid of. So let's do 4, okay? Let's get a regular spell bullet. This is what you use to get your spells. Now, if you want to know how to make that, it's just an iron ingot and side dust, like so, to make a spell bullet. You then want to right-click with your spell bullet onto this, alright? It'll then put that information in the debug, alright? Then we want to put our CAD up here, and I debug, then take this back, and as you can see, it has a spell in it. I can also sort through my spells by pressing C. Alright, it says I have debug selected. By right clicking, it is going to tell it my location. Alright, this is in chat, general chat. As you can see, because I put the letter 4, it also told it to type letter 4 in chat. So think of it like this. Think of it like this. This castle basically tells it to target this, okay? So it's going to target me, its information. And it's going to tell in chat everything connected. So it's going to tell my location and this number. I don't think there are letters in this. This one, not letters. Let's just backspace and read all this. This is our spell debug. Now, on the next one. What should I say? Like this. Casting a spell. It essentially tells you how to cast a spell. I'm not going to say this because I basically explained it, but yeah, you can just look at that. If you want to pause it. Pause the video if you want to see this. Alright. So, if you want to read any of that, you can pause the video during the time. Now let's go into the other types of bullet. We have a projectile spell bullet. It is a combination of an arrow, iron ingot, and side dust, like so. Basically, what these different spell bullets is how you cast them. For instance, let me just grab this CAD. As you can see, it has a few spells in it, like add motion. Okay, add motion is in a ritual spell board or a circle spell. Essentially, what does it's oh yeah, right. If you have more than one CAD, your spells will not work. Essentially, what it does is it creates a continuous circle for a circle spell bullet, which will constantly drain your mana until it is 0. Alright? But then you'll run out or probably kill yourself from exhaustion. Alright. Grenade spell bullets. I believe I have one. Nope, that. Yeah. Okay. I just grab one of every one of these. Nope. Cast spell bullet. Projectile spell bullet. Circle spell bullet. Oops. That's not what I meant to do. Alright, let's just do time set day. Alright, so essentially, let's start with the projectile spell. I am going to take this debug spell, and then I am going to put it in this cast. I called it cord shot because it is, that's the same spell, is of a projectile board. Now see, it'll essentially do the debug spell, but a projectile bullet is the difference. Projectile bullet, as you would guess, it shoots a projectile, and it would tell me the coordinates, or if it's out range. Yeah, what spell do I have selected? Oh, it will tell me the coordinates of the block I hit. Next, let's do a mind spell bullet. Where's the explosion one? Yeah, right here. Okay. Grenade spell bullet 2. Group cast spell bullet. I'm going to just do this. And charge spell bullet. I'm not exactly sure what this does. So I'm just going to motion is projectile. Let's add motion. It's a charge. Let's debug. Oh yeah, it's empty. That's fine. Alright, so I only showed you what the circle one does. So this is a grenade spellable. As you think, it essentially launches like a grenade. Yes, it has that. It doesn't go out because, well, you know, grenade. Then we have add motion. This is, I'm not exactly sure how this type of bullet works. This is the mine. I basically placed an explosive mine there which will blow up on impact. Alright, so you got the gist of that. Alright. So let's move on to our next lesson. Alright. As you can see, this is basically a debug spell like the one from Mario, just written differently. Essentially, it's like this. Okay, it's like we get our trick. You get more than one trick in a spell. That's how this operates. Which one now? Trick right here. See, since this is like this, you don't have to do it. It's not mandatory because of the centerpiece, but you can still do damage. With cast or heal. Essentially what this is about is connectors. They connect things that don't, you know, have slot for long range. Its target is left. Now, if we do this, it should connect it equally. And if we do a numerical value of, like, let's say 48, then put connectors from from here, okay, and then we do this, we get this going, or we this, and boom, see, it works. And essentially, it will work just like any other, it'll work just like any other debug, we just lit it differently. So yeah, see? Boom. Alright, now let's just get rid of these spells. We're gonna clog up my inventory. Alright, next lesson. This is essentially more complex tricks. Right here we have the trick add motion, which if you hold shift tells you it needs an input of a target, direction, and speed number. This number is basically the speed, as in like if you wanted like speed, I don't know, 10, if that's even a thing. Nope, that's already above them. Let's go with 9. Nope, too much. 6, 5. Okay, yes, this is potency. Yeah, like, yeah, but we have limiting factors. We'll get to that later. But essentially, the direction is this, the operation, entity look. Basically, and this is the target caster. Okay, so essentially it's like this. Because it's target caster, this is not meant for a spell bullet. Basically works like this. This trick basically seizes the direction. So the direction the spell is going to be activated is in front of you. Like, that's where you're going. It's add motion, so it's going to move you like that. It's going to move you at a speed of 5 forward. And it's going to target the caster, you. Right? If we were to change this selected caster to, I don't know, caster target, it would be for a spell bullet. So whoever you shoot would move forward the direction you're looking at, or it's looking at, because entity look. Entity look also needs a target to go from. This is basically where it's going to look, as in it's going to add motion where the entity is looking. Target is what entity that is, and this just happens to be caster or caster target if you change it to that. The connector is going to connect it because it's not side by side. Now, let's not do that and instead do a spell bullet version, because we all know using discharge bullets is just going to get boring, so let's do that. If you wanted to just use it in a regular spell bullet, you can go look at that from the previous part of the video. Alright, so we essentially just have to look for add motion. We then have to just look for operation, entity look, a numerical value, and the target. Then we just need to connect it like so. Now the speed I got is 5, because as you guys saw earlier, that is too much for the potency to handle. It is too potent, the spell will fail. Now let us find a target. I blew everything up so there's no target. I think I might have something right here. Just get these guys, and let's go over here because. Oh yeah, this is on peaceful. No mind. I'm just going to use this guy. Is this selected? It's not selected. That's and it's named debug because I forgot to change the name. See, because he's looking at me, he moved 5 blocks in the direction he was facing. And with most entities, that's going to be at you. So, yeah. Dang it, I missed. Okay, see, I got it. this says arrow spell entity target non-existent. It's basically it can only affect entities, so, or it can also affect falling blocks like sand, but you'll have to change the target like so. Read this information, it's very important. Right. Let's move on to rays, vector ray casting. Essentially, not all spells are going to essentially start as projectiles. Sometimes you're going to have to add rays. It basically tells it that it's a shooting spell. Explosion just causes an explosion, alright? Even if we did entity look, that would just mean the explosion happened, so the entity is looking, being you, that means you blow up. Essentially, what this is telling, this is the power of the explosion, how big it is. As you saw, those were quite small, and for good reason. But essentially, its position is going to be a vector. Now, if you don't know what a vector is, I am not going to say, because there will be a link in the video from the mods link. Alright? Then essentially this operation vector also needs a position, array, and max. This basically says where the ray or shot starts from. Entity, well, castle means you, and entity position means the entity position from the castle. Right? That's the position it explodes at. Max is not gonna get into that. I think that's the maximum of distance it can go. The maximum amount is 42, so yeah. And essentially, if we get ourselves a projectile spellbolt or a grenade spellbolt, whichever one you fancy, shove it in here. It should blow up what the innocent creatures you just happen to be flunk spell. Innocent creatures you just happen to be looking at. I'm like, man, frame rate's really boom, explosion, and it didn't die. Okay, we'll just have to worry about that later. Well, you might be saying, oh, but like, shouldn't we be reading the tutorial? The tutorial, yes, tells you how to make spells, and like, it just tells you the ropes of what each one does. It's basically form. So essentially, you could do this with any spell. I kind of call this like an operation. It basically means I can put any trick here, and this will work as a thing I shoot. As like, if I put the trick ignite, it'll set an entity on fire, whatever I hit, and yeah. Alright, so we're back. I just had to do something for a bit. Anyway, if I put the trick fertile land, trick overgrow, it fertilizes the block. Okay, and if I do this, boom. Now, I can have something here, and it doesn't have to apply to anything, because it won't be part of the spell. That has to be attached to the trick. See, now this is projectile base. I'm going to take another projectile bullet. Alright, and which one is it? It's this one. Okay, I'm going to take a projectile bullet. And boom, yeah. So now, essentially, if I take this, alright, I can shoot this if I get the thing selected, and it'll grow the plant. See, as you can see, it is fully grown. So that's useful. Or you could use something like a circle spell. It'll completely drain your mana. It'll continuously grow every plant within its range. Which is quite small, to be honest. So, yeah. Yeah, that was the final spell it teaches you before it lets you basically freestyle. It limits explosion. So I'm just going to show this to you, and you can look at it and read it whenever you want. And I'm not sure if I know I did casting a spell, so that sounds so good. Yeah, so if you just want to read any of this, just pause the video. See, it's talking about connectors, and I showed you that already. With it, alright, this is basically the add motion spell I was talking about earlier. I basically summed this entire thing up to you, so there's no real reason. Oh, limits, yes, this is very important though, so I'm going to go with you on this. Basically, you have 5 limits. Your complexity, that's this. Your potency, we talked about that earlier. The cost, as in the cost of psi energy it's going to take from you. Alright, and then you have the projection. Alright, it's basically it's a limitation of the amount of spells you can have within the, how many tricks you have in spell. Like in spell, you can have it fertilize the plant and then light it on fire. But if you have too many tricks, it just won't work. Alright, that depends on your cat's core, which I'll get to about is fatal. Then we have bandwidth, the final stat. It's capped by your cat's. It's the width and height of the spell. It's basically how many blocks it can go out. Okay, like, see, the explosion one had a maximum of 32. We can essentially increase it by, just getting, yeah. So, cost is really important. Like, you might not be able to use really powerful spells that give you, like, regeneration 9 for, like, 1 hour. Because they'll cost too much and instantly kill you because you exert too much psi energy. But that's something to keep in mind. Yes, this stuff. Potency is power, spell, amount, actions. That's basic. This is 5. We can have maximum of 14 actions. So this is counted as 1 action. Because debugs don't count as actions. Like, if I were to delete this, as you can see, nothing. Alright, let me just fix this. Now let me just go to some spells that I have created because I wanted to show you guys the awesomeness that you can do here. Now I have preloaded every single spell into a CAD, this casting assistant device. This is the creative one, so it never runs out. Oh, it cannot kill me. So essentially, this first one is collapsing block. It uses, as you can see, the lathe operation from earlier and the collapsing block trick. Let me just essentially allows me to give a block gravity as if it were sand. Alright, next up we have the blink trick. It's set to 5 and affects me. You can also, if you have an item from the Psi mod, you can control on it to see it basically how to make it in the encyclopedia. if I do blink, go up here to the preset thing, do level clear, because it won't be such a thing, it's set to 5. So if I right click, you didn't notice, but it blinked me through there, and I immediately went into a block where I was then pushed out because I was facing down a little bit because I was stuck in block. So that's why you should do up. This is set to 5. Essentially means this counts as the 1, and where I end up is the final one, the 5. So because it's at 5, I can go through 3 blocks at max. Right? I had this prepared. I just take this. Now the next spell I did was speed. It's kind of self-explanatory. So I just show you it. This it uses the trick speed. This is the number, as in how much time it'll cost, and the second number is the power. So speed 3, and this target. You can also use the target others with the wave thing. But yeah, if essentially I should be able, if I do this by just holding it once, I should be able to walk over this with ease. Yeah. Alright, next spell we got here. We got Idios Reversal. Now, if you don't know what that is, like I said about time travel, Idios Reversal is basically takes the castle back in time. This is the number at which it's going to take me back in time. 240. Now, as you can see, it is redoing my actions for me. It does not, however, affect if I placed the block or if something grew. It just affects you or your target if you want to make this a shooty spell thing. I also have another one. Idios Ankle. Essentially, it's like time travel, but instant. As the other one basically moves me around through my past things. If something changed and blocks it, that spell will fail. But if I use Idios Ankle, it will immediately teleport me to where I was when I used the spell. So yeah, it's that type of time travel. Next we got Overglow. I essentially showed you that earlier. Conjure block sequence. If you don't know, the conjure block spell basically just conjures air. It's not as useful as you think because it does not last long. I was able to get it to work as a ray, but not in the way you think. See, I mess it up to a point that if I were to cast the spell, which I'm not going to, it would cast a row of blocks above me, pushing me down. Next spell we have Infusion. This was at the beginning. Basically, Infusion infused gold in the prismetal as well as redstone in the side dust. So if I just, these are how to make the other types of bullets. Okay, yeah, basically if I get some gold, so I have the spell selected, right click, boom, it's side metal. We'll get to what that is later because this will be very important to you. Next spell is Greater Infusion. Okay, so that is right here. No, that's the wrong spell. It's this one. Alright. Greater Infusion infuses diamonds in the side gems and infuses redstone and gold into one infused. So, this is basically side gems. Right. I'll be back to you. Okay, so basically what Greater Infusion does is it allows me to take a few diamonds, go to greater infuse farmland, greater infuse, right click, and make them in the side gems, okay? These will be useful later. Now, our final infusion, ebony and ivory. Essentially, when you're in the end, that's important, you have to be in the end when you do this, you can basically right click on nether quartz and coals to make ivory substance and ebony substance. You then use these like so. Yeah, I have no idea how to make the ingots. I think it's like this or something. I don't know. I never like. It's somewhere on here, right here. Yeah. By surrounding a psi metal gem with the ingots, you can use it to create a ebony psi metal ingot or an ivory psi metal ingot. All of these metals will be useful for materials down the line. But I think today's video is getting a little too long, so well, I'm gonna end up here. So it was nice seeing you. If you liked the video, then great. See you all next time. Bye.